Hi, so in this video I'm going to talk you through the way that I used to think about unit conversions when I was an A-level student, because like a lot of you, I always struggled with trying to figure out whether I should multiply or divide when I was converting from one unit to another. And it sounds like the sort of thing that should be obvious and easy, but it really is counterintuitive sometimes. And what I found worked for me in the end was relating the chemistry unit conversions back to length measurements and length unit conversions, because I think the length ones are ones that you sort of do instinctively in everyday life. I mean, it depends what you do in your life, but certainly for me, I've had lots of times where I've had to measure the length of something, and you'll have definitely done it at school, if nothing else. And I found that if I related it back to that, I could then apply that to the chemistry conversions and be a lot more confident in what I was doing. So let me show you what I mean. So the reason I've got a table on the board is because I used to kind of always visualize measuring a table. So I imagine I'm getting my ruler, I'm measuring the table, and let's say that I measure the table and I get it to be 1.1 metre. Yeah. Now, if I wanted to convert that to millimetres, it'd be quite obvious to me straight away that I'm going to have a lot more millimetres than metres. So imagine your ruler, the millimetres are the tiny little divisions on the scale, right? So you're going to have a lot of those compared to metres. So it's pretty obvious if I was doing that unit conversion, I'd multiply in order to get into millimetres. Now, what I would have to know and have to have learned is that the conversion factor is 1,000. So to go from metres to millimetres, I can multiply, and that's the bit that I can work out, but I have to know that it's by 1,000. Okay. So if I did this calculation, 1.1 metres times 1,000, it comes out as 1,100 millimetres. And that sounds about right, doesn't it? Yeah, if you imagine like the sort of measurements you've seen, that sounds about right for a table. So you could instinctively tell that that's going to be roughly correct, okay? So I used to sort of adapt that from there and think, right, well, what I'm doing in this calculation is I'm going from the larger unit, which is the metres, to the smaller unit, which is the millimetres, and I've obviously got a lot more of the millimetres, so anytime I want to go from a larger unit to a smaller unit, I know I have to multiply. And similarly, if I wanted to go back the other way, so anytime I'm going from having a smaller unit to a larger unit, like from millimetres to metres, I'm going to have a lot less of the metres, and therefore I need to divide. Okay? And as I said, for me, the reason this worked is because I could instinctively see straight away I'd have more millimetres than metres, so all I had to do is take that and then think, okay, does that mean I'm multiplying or dividing? Well, it means I'm multiplying from metres to millimetres, and then any time in future that I know I'm going from a larger unit to smaller, I can link it back to this and work out that I need to multiply. Okay? And for quite a long time, I used to sort of visualise the measuring of the table pretty much every time I had to do a unit conversion, but it worked really well for me because I think anytime you can link back what you're doing in your academic subjects to things that you do in everyday life, it makes it a lot easier to see what's happening, and it's a lot more reliable to be able to do that than it is to just rely on rote learning things. So if you imagine trying to rote learn all of the unit conversions, it's not really going to work out very well. Okay? So what I would encourage you to do then is either borrow my way of thinking about it and just practice thinking, okay, I'm measuring my table, am I multiplying or dividing? Or try and find a way for you to think about this yourself that means something to you at least, so that you can link your unit conversions for chemistry back to that and just have that to rely on.